Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about a conspiracy. I know you guys love a good conspiracy, as do I, so we're going to dissect a recent news story that just broke over the weekend and see if there's any truth to it, if there's any reason you should pay any attention to it, or if it's all just a bunch of BS. First, though, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com so you can get all of our latest content, articles, videos, interviews, and get our weekly newsletter, which I'm a couple weeks behind, but I will get back to it beginning this weekend. And of course, follow us on minds.com/the Conscious Resistance Network. Minds is the blockchain-based, censorship-free, ad-free, doesn't steal your data social network alternative to Facebook that I really, really encourage you guys to use, as I'm going to be using it more and more in the coming months. So find us on there. Some of you may have heard of this story. Rapper Nipsey Hussle was killed this weekend in South L.A. The police are saying that the shooting is in relation to potential gang activity, and this man, Eric Holder, has been identified as a suspect who allegedly had just recently got into dispute with Nipsey Hussle, as rappers sometimes do. But the interesting thing is, and again, so he was shot outside of his Marathon clothing store. He was rushed to the hospital and pronounced dead. He was 33 years old. Grammy-nominated rapper, so very well known in his genre and respected by a lot of other rappers. So on the surface, especially when the cops say, well, we believe it's related to gang activity, many people would just dismiss this. Like, okay, a black man in South L.A., a black rapper at that, in South L.A., shot potential gang activity. And for some, that would be enough to just dismiss and say that that's all that was going on. And as we're going to look into it, that may be the case. But I think there's also reasons to ask questions, and this is what we're going to get into. So Nipsey Hussle owned several businesses on the block where he was shot, including a burger restaurant, a barber shop, a fish market, and of course his store that he owned. And he once gave a pair of shoes to every student at 59th Street Elementary School. He also donated money to renovate the school's playground and basketball courts. Hold on, this doesn't really sound like somebody who is deep into gang life. He was a member of the Rollin' 60s Crips, which is a well-known gang in LA. So he was involved in a gang. However, it does seem that he was trying to turn his life around. He had been turning his life around and gotten involved in a variety of community activism efforts. And he actually apparently was working with LA City Council on trying to combat gang activity. LA City Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson released a statement saying Hussle had a vision for a neighborhood built for and by the sons and daughters of South LA. During his life, he moved from shadows into the bright hope of freedom and community revitalization. He was also involved in a project called the Destination Crenshaw Art Project, which was a co-working space. He also opened a co-working space. I mean, you can go on and find the examples of how Nipsey Hussle was involved in obviously music, but he was also very interested in technology. Here's one quote from him in the Times in 2018. He says, "In our culture, there's a narrative that says follow the athletes, follow the entertainers." And he's talking about black culture, hip hop culture, and that's cool. But there should be something that says follow Elon Musk, follow Mark Zuckerberg. I think that's, with me being influential as an artist and young and coming from the inner city, it makes sense for me to be one of the people that's waving that flag. So he was very much into entrepreneurship, technology, trying to get his community together, and obviously starting his own businesses. And Los Angeles Police Chief Michelle Moore, however you say that, was quick to know that Hussle was one of many recent victims of violence on the streets of LA. Tonight's homicide in South LA represents the latest loss in a troubling surge in violence. Since last Sunday, 26 people have been shot and 10 have been killed. That's 36 families left picking up the pieces. So again, they're saying that this is related to an increase in gang activity. Now, why are there questions popping up? Why are people not so sure about this? Well, it's due in part to this interview right here from The Breakfast Club, which many of you may know. The Breakfast Club is a popular morning news show. They host a lot of hip-hop artists. And on this interview here, rapper Nipsey Hussle talks about a documentary he was involved with. So I'm going to just play this short clip and you can check it out, and then we'll see what's going on.
I mean, he was, when we interviewed him, I think he was about 74.
Oh, y'all interviewed him?
Yeah, we interviewed him twice.
Damn.
Not here, but when I was on the other show. He was able to jump from the floor up here on his knees.
At
Where he
70
jumped and
something.
on his knees
Yeah.
and jump back down and no problems, nothing like that.
Why you think
He
they
had-
killed him?
Why do they kill all holistic doctors?
Right.
Messing up the medical industry.
It's, you
fucking up the
playing,
money.
you short stopping their grind. Why do niggas get killed for hustling in front of a nigga spot? You short stopping the grind. And these niggas, they check is billions. You got niggas that get flipped for a couple $100,000. So you playing with some pharmaceutical money, you know? And what's crazy, I'm working on doing a documentary on the trial in 1985 when Dr. Sebi went to trial against New York.
Right.
Because he put in the newspaper he cured AIDS.
Yeah.
Did he
He beat the
He won that
case,
shit, yeah.
and he went to federal court the next day and beat that case
Yeah.
on record.
Yep.
And nobody talk about it.
That's crazy. I'm in the middle of doing this holistic detox right now, day 6 of 14.
Yeah, you was telling me.
Yeah. So.
No food, nothing.
And they.
So I think that's right there. So they're talking about Dr. Sebi, sometimes pronounced Dr. Sebi. That's Nipsey Hussle on Breakfast Club right there, saying they're talking about him and how healthy he was as an older man. He died at the age of 82. And so what's the controversy about this Dr. Sebi? He had claimed, as Nipsey Hussle said in this clip, that he had cured AIDS. He had actually published advertisements in the paper saying, AIDS has been cured. And this is at the time of the heights of the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Obviously, AIDS is still going on. But he essentially said that he had found a way to cure AIDS among other illnesses. And he was immediately sued. If you look further into his story, as we're going to in just a moment, you can see that he faced a lot of trouble, as do most people who claim to cure cancer, cure AIDS, and things like that. So a 1985 court trial in which Dr. Sebi proved he had a cure for AIDS allegedly contained evidence that the government assisted in his death. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things that don't add up in this case. Again, the fact that rapper Nipsey Hussle may have died of gang activity, it could have been totally unrelated, but also, how hard would it be for somebody in the pharmaceutical industry who's worried that, as Nipsey Hussle said, he's making a documentary about this Dr. Sebi who died a couple years ago. His real name right here, according to Wikipedia, Alfredo Darrington Bowman, born 1933, died August 6, 2016. Again, claimed that he had been able to cure all diseases with herbs and a vegan diet. And as they say here, he also talked about alkaline diet. They say he is a pseudoscientist, he's a quack, these kinds of words that they used. But he was going around claiming this and apparently provided evidence in these court cases. He brought forth people who he had cured of AIDS, allegedly cured of AIDS, and he actually won these cases. Now, obviously, this kind of person who's talking about these things is going to be very controversial. He ended up dying at the end of his life, and even his death was a kind of controversy because, as you see here, he was arrested for money laundering while attempting to travel from a commercial flight from the U.S. to a private plane at the Juan Manuel Airport while carrying $37,000 in cash. And then May 2016, he was arrested again carrying $50,000 in cash, which neither one of those are crimes. It's just the state doesn't like you carrying that much money. So that's not a real crime, but they used that to arrest him, to hold him, and he was held for several weeks in a Honduran prison as his family was attempting to obtain his release. And then once they realized he was sick, allegedly sick, he was on the way to hospital where he died from complications due to pneumonia. And of course, that created a bunch of different conspiracies about people saying that he was murdered, that they were coming after him. And I think I can understand. If you look at Twitter, particularly what is known as Black Twitter, where the Black community, they really understand and appreciate Dr. Sebi. Some people really believe in his work. You can see his Twitter account there. Others are skeptical. And the reason I talk about the idea of Black Twitter, if you guys haven't heard that before, is because particularly the African American community was very much embracing Dr. Sebi as one of their heroes. Not everybody believes that he, was a doctor, or that he cured AIDS, or that he, died under mysterious circumstances. You can see a Twitter comment here. Somebody says he died at 82. That's like he's old. So there is skepticism on both sides. But this guy talked about curing AIDS. He made it clear. He went to court. He was pursued over this. He ends up dying under mysterious circumstances. Then Nipsey Hussle, apparently in the pursuit of his truth, and as I said, he's kind of into technology, he's into entrepreneurship. Seems like he was into a lot more than just music. He mentions in this interview, and apparently other places, that he's working on a documentary about Dr. Sebi. So again, the quote says, "I'm working on doing doc on the trial in 1985 when Dr. Sebi went to a trial in New York because he put it in the newspaper that he cured the AIDS. He beat the case. Then he went to federal court the next day and he beat that case. But nobody talks about this." So you can look further into this article from the Free Thought Project about it if you've never heard of him. I'll also post the other links. So that's where it had been just the last couple days. And people are speculating, as I said, on both sides. Is there any truth to this? Is this just BS? I know you guys are probably going to say, oh, this is part of the ongoing killing of holistic doctors. I've heard this story for, 3-4 years now. And there is some truth, I will say. There were definitely some reports of different doctors who were holistic or maybe alternative medicines who had died, and maybe some under mysterious circumstances. But at some times I'd seen lists saying that there was 200 holistic doctors have now been killed. And I don't have the time nor the energy to confirm every single one of them. But I did go through a list at one point and was able to confirm that some of them seemed to be either not true, or maybe they were just normal deaths, or the doctors weren't even really related to holistic medicine at all. So I don't know if this is connected to that story. I don't know if that entire theory is even true. But we do have an update. So Nick Cannon, the rapper, TV star, movie star that some of you may know, he was apparently good friends with Nipsey Hussle. And he's just been tweeting about this, posting on Instagram the last couple days. On April 1st, Nick Cannon posted a photo of himself and Nipsey Hussle to Instagram, noting that Hussle will never be silenced and that he is going to pick up the baton to finish this marathon. This is this post right here that you guys can see, where it's, we don't really know how to interpret that. He doesn't say anything about Dr. Sebi. He doesn't say anything about the documentary. He just says, where you left off, we're going to carry one. It's a marathon, so I'm picking up the baton because they can't kill us all. Spiritual warfare is real and in full effect. And now your spirit is protecting your community eternally. Your words, your steps, your walk always was and always will be solid. Now your message is my message. Your work is my work. I know you're still rocking with us, and your voice will never be silenced. So many people thought, like, whoa, what is he saying here, right? Then, just in the last 24 hours, it's been made clear that he is definitely talking about Dr. Sebi, because the last 3 posts on Nick Cannon's Instagram are pictures and videos of Dr. Sebi. They're not quite playing at the moment, but you can see the caption here says, unfinished king business, pay attention, let's go, #fearless, and he tags Nipsey Hussle, he hashtagged Dr. Sebi. So look at this. There's a video of Dr. Sebi saying there's only one disease. There's another video of an interview with Dr. Sebi. And these clips have 1.2 million, 1 million plays, 5,000 plus comments. Here's another one. And every single one of these is a hashtag Dr. Sebi and also tagging Nipsey Hussle. And he says, we have to take responsibility for our own. In this one, Nick Cannon says, can't kill us all, fearless, marathon, spiritual warfare. And as I said, you can see some people here who are saying, Nick Cannon, I can't believe you're buying into this conspiracy instead of exposing the elephant in the room, which is gang culture in our community. We glorify instead of shaming it. Now, look at us. Now, I agree with that comment, actually, that the elephant in the room in the hip-hop community is the glorification of violence and of guns and of money and materialism, and that definitely plays a role in why there's so much of that culture. However, I can't completely say that there is no conspiracy here. At this point, it does seem like people are willing to at least look further into this. And let's imagine that Nipsey Hussle was just killed by gang violence. Even if that's true, I think it's great that Nick Cannon and others might still be interested in wanting to finish the work that he was started. Now, I have heard that the documentary wasn't even, started yet. It wasn't even completed. It was still just kind of a conversation. This interview was published April of last year, so I don't know exactly when the interview originally took place. Interesting to see some YouTube comments. We need to protect Nipsey before someone stops the truth from being brought to light. That was a month ago before he was killed. So this interview is more than a year old, though. And if he was indeed working on a documentary, whether or not he was killed in relation to that, I think it's great that somebody would finish the work. Now, one thing I do want to say as far as skepticism of Dr. Sebi and things like that, some people have said that Magic Johnson, the basketball player, famous L.A. Lakers, was, who is known to have lived his life for 22 plus years with HIV. Some people have said, well, the reason he's alive and so healthy and he hasn't died like so many others is because he's rich and he's got access to, special drugs or different things like that. There's also rumors that he went to go visit Dr. Sebi in Africa. He says here in Kenya, but I think people, he might have that incorrect. But there's rumors that him and others did go visit Dr. Sebi and were cured of their AIDS. So I'm going to just play this clip of Magic Johnson himself talking about that.
After finding out. Because at that time, people just said it was a death sentence, so that's what you thought, and so...
I think people still think that, and I want to clear up some myths. You're not taking no special medications.
No.
People think you don't even have it anymore.
No. Well, that's wrong too. So this is really good, and I'm glad you brought this up, because first of all, I do have it and have had it for 22 years. It's just laying sleep in my body. The drugs have done their part, and I've done my part by exercising and having a positive attitude about having HIV. Then the other one is I went to Kenya. I went to some place and some doctor helped me. No, I've never been to Kenya. I've never been anywhere like that. Mexico and different places.
Right.
The same 30-something drugs that are available to everybody else, I'm on 3 of them. Just like a lot of people are on the cocktail, which is three drugs combined. And so I take it once a day after dinner, and that's it. So I've been the blessing for HIV, and I've been the curse.
So I think that's enough of that clip right there, though. You can see he's denying that he had any connection to Dr. Sebi. Again, I haven't really dove super deep into this. If you guys have any other evidence that contradicts what he said, like a video, a picture of him there, a statement from Dr. Sebi claiming to have treated Magic Johnson, then I think that would probably do a great effort to dispel that myth, if it is indeed a myth. But maybe the myth is that he even visited with him. Either way, just to wrap this up, Nick Cannon apparently is planning to carry the baton and continue the mission. He's saying he's fearless. He's saying that he's going to finish the documentary, or I don't know if it was even started, but either way, he's going to finish the project. And I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think? Have you heard about Dr. Sebi prior to this? Have you heard about his claims of curing AIDS and his vegan diet and alkalinity and things like that? I do think that there is value, obviously. Me as a vegan, I think there's value there. I also think there's value to looking into the alkalinity in your diet. Many of the claims he made. Now, did he cure AIDS? I don't know myself. Did he cure HIV? I don't know. Did he cure other things? I don't know. But I do know, without a doubt, there are many alternative cures to many of the major diseases and illnesses in the world that exist, coming from plants, coming from the earth themselves. These are often criminalized, or they're turned into a conspiracy, and anybody who believes that they can treat themselves in some alternative way outside of the pharmaceutical industry is seen as a conspiracy theorist, a kook, an anti-science idiot. But in this case, I'm not sure. I don't know. Was Nipsey Hussle onto something? Was he going to put out this documentary and expose the truth about Dr. Sebi? Or was this just a case of gang violence, as the police are saying? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Let me know, do you think that Dr. Sebi was right? Do you think this was just gang violence? And either way, should Nick Cannon and others continue the project of bringing the story of Dr. Sebi to the masses? Because it seems like not a lot of people were aware of this. I've heard his name prior to this, but I hadn't really dug into it, and this gave me a reason to start digging into it. So if you have more information related to these topics that you'd like me to check out, please do email me at derrick@theconsciousresistance.com or comment below and get in touch. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.